gently give this a bit of a tuggy tug, and that's the CPU is not supposed to come with the heatsink. Hello and welcome back to Behind the Curve Gaming. Today we are going to try and actually change up some parts on this PC. So on the last PC I run down my current setup and the fact that I found a space in the kitchen, in this little nook for it. It's less than convenient, but it's working and it's absolutely fine. And it's really not that bad. It feels like a bit of a mess, and I do want to tidy some things up, and I do want to upgrade along the way where I can, assuming that the budget agrees, right? So today I'm going to try and overcome this NVMe issue by updating the BIOS and then just trying both the slots, because I've only ever actually tried the one lower slot, which is available under the GPU, below the GPU should I say, rather than under it. I'm going to try those, and then we're going to actually install the Thermalright Assassin X120 ARGB SE white refined tower cooler, CPU tower cooler. And hopefully that's going to go swimmingly. So I'm going to insert some clips, hopefully I remember to actually record it correctly, and let's get straight into it and let's have some fun, shall we? So the issue that I mentioned earlier, so I have two NVMe slots. Now both times I have tried to install either of the two that I have in this lower slot, and both times, and well now 3 times, it has resulted unfortunately in this Blanco drive eraser volume or something or other. It has no relevance to what's in there now or what would have been in there before, so I've got no idea what it is. So yeah, unfortunately it would seem that it's this slot which doesn't work, because underneath the graphics card is another one which takes up to the full length of the NVMe, and I installed the one that I got from CEX. It's just a 256, and I installed that in there and the PC started up no problem. I logged in and it was there and ready to be used. So a little bit annoying, because this is a new 512 that I bought from Amazon for like 30 quid at Christmas time. That's when I found out I had this issue with the motherboard. The BIOS update hasn't got rid of that, so unfortunately I'm a little bit stuck on that issue at the moment. But I have one slot which does appear to work. I just don't know whether to be bothered at the time or at the moment to now switch this one, which currently I have been using with an external drive. It doesn't really matter ultimately. And this has got this one's got games on, basically. It's just got my games on and some videos now. And that one's blank. So, and if you look at this mess, this isn't a modular power supply, so and you know, I've got 2 starters here with the associated cables that you need for them, unfortunately. So anyone that, you know, has got a completely modern PC, you know, you don't even need any of these days for the most part. You don't need a load of Molex connectors and SATA cables and things. You can just put a drive on there and, you know, you're away. And all you need is, you know, possibly GPU power if you've got a graphics card that needs one, and motherboard power, and then CPU power. And apart from, well, that's pretty much it. So yeah, a bit annoying. So take that one out. Possibly look at removing all this, repasting the CPU and installing my new air cooler. So I decided that's really not taking me that long. I've got a bit of time tonight. I'll remove the heatsink and everything. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. You've got to get a flathead under the side to release this. This came off no problem. And then I was going, well, these brackets aren't holding in the heatsink or the CPU or anything. So I'll just gently give this a bit of a tuggy tug, and that's the CPU is not supposed to come with the heatsink. It would be an absolute freaking miracle if that hasn't taken a pin with it or bent it or done something, because that's supposed to stay in there, and it was down and in its locked position, so I have no idea what's happening there. It doesn't look like it's doing much, to be honest, doing that at all, but I'm very bewildered at the moment. But not quite sure what's happened there, or if they've just got a bit of OTT of the thermal paste or what, but okay, we'll continue as if everything is okay. I decided to get my tiny little flathead and just pry the corner out, and this thing's absolutely popped off and fallen on the floor. So okay, I've been out of the game for a while, but Jesus, this thing's really trying to test me, isn't it? Let's see how good my new phone is with its macro mode. So yeah, drop in that has bent a load of the pins on the corners, so I'm having a great time tonight, clearly. The likelihood of me squaring all these up without one of them just popping off is unfortunately very unlikely now, which is a massive shame because along with that cooler, this would have been £50 used on eBay, no issues. Look, that whole row is bent, oh my God. There's no chance this is getting straightened up and back in there. I'm really annoyed with myself. I'm even more annoyed at the person that installed it in the first place. Why the hell this thing is freaking glued down to the heatsink? I have no idea. It should have stayed in there. It's a CPU retaining bloody bracket lever. Right, so it looks like that's it. I've been messing around with these pins for like an hour, 2 hours now maybe. I've googled the issue of the whole CPU coming over the heatsink, and it's common enough that there's plenty of Reddit threads about it happening. Apparently the dumb thing is to not only put your PC on, but to stress test it for a few minutes just so it really loosens that thermal paste and get it off. Now, I'm from Intel, and from my memory, those things had a proper like locking mechanism. That CPU was never going to come off with the heatsink. AMD is new to me, but bloody hell, that's a bit OTT. Nevertheless, it came off with it fine, seemingly. It didn't leave any pins in the motherboard by the looks of it. Yeah, I've been staring at this thing for so long now. I have like a little magnifying glass. I've straightened a couple of pins before my time. It certainly feels like I'm a bit of a novice coming back to this PC stuff after about at least 5 to 10 years. You know, to the naked eye, it really doesn't look that bad at all. And the camera's got no chance of obviously getting all this. They all look like they're there. They all look roughly straight. But obviously roughly straight isn't good enough for it to insert and seat properly into that motherboard. So it looks like that's had it. I'm going to be sulking about that for a long time probably, because I was going to move that on. Like, yes, I did plan to upgrade the CPU at some point this year, and then I could move that heatsink and the CPU on. At the moment, they're going for about 45, 50 quid. With the heatsink, that's probably 50 quid. And that's really annoying. As I say, I only got this like a year ago or something like that, maybe 18 months now, I can't remember. And it was a really good deal. The motherboard and the CPU came to about £90 or something like £95. And either one of those, the motherboard or the CPU, should have cost me like £75, £80 by itself. So really good deal that I got, but I've gone and busted the CPU from my own stupidity. Well, I've just levered off the CPU in the corner from the heatsink. It's literally popped and then fall on the floor, and it's busted it. So I wasn't being careful enough, basically. I was a bit too complacent. Again, because at the moment I've got dead PC. And I hope the motherboard isn't damaged from ripping that CPU out and then me trying to put it in 20, 30 times again just to see if it sits down properly. Doesn't seem to be. It's not locking whatsoever. So it's definitely not seating correctly. Bad luck. I'm going to put it down to bad luck. It's not me doing it wrong. I've done this before. I was beyond giving up, telling myself I should have stopped this ages and ages ago, but I think it started to seat on the front here okay, and it was all raised at the back. So I started just trying to like push it down a little bit on the corners. So I was applying some pressure, taking it out, and none of the pins were like particularly bent out of shape. Like one really wasn't trying to go in. So I started pushing on the corners a little bit more, and then this corners went and like popped in, and I took it back out again and tried on this one, and this one was a little bit louder, but I think it's now seated. So I've locked it down. It doesn't seem to want to come out like it did want to before. And I'm going to have a go putting this new heatsink on and go from there. And it's going to be an absolute pain in the ass, because obviously this is now going to take me a while putting it all together and then to turn it on and see if it works or not. If it does, then fantastic. I'll also have to do a load of testing just to see if it crashes or anything. But are we out of the woods? I don't know. I'll be back in about half an hour at least. Right, everything is in utter disarray. I've installed this, which is simple enough, but I had to do some finagling, and God, this stuff really is sticky, isn't it? Bloody thermal paste these days. So that's finally on there. I don't know which is the best orientation for this to go, because I'm pretty sure this, apparently if I want LED, maybe it has to go all the way down here, and it's not going to reach down there because, well, that's where that compatible thing is. I've not got one up here. It's got the wrong pins on. But the fan's power itself is there, so this is moment of truth. I plug things back in again. it's carnage here. I wanted this to be tidy today and all lovely and excellent. So, moment of truth. Is it kaput? We've got nothing to the... We got nothing. Anything? Was it going to say no signal? Fuck. I thought I'd done it. I thought it was okay. Oh, shit. Wait, well, that's motherboard. That's a motherboard. I don't know why it took so long. Usually this is on in a few seconds. Oh, whoa. Am I working? Am I okay? I don't even know where the keyboard is. Oh, it's right here. Let's see if I can actually just go in and... Jesus Christ, this has been an absolute ordeal. Apologies for any language that I've had through this. I don't even know what mouse is. Alright. Yes, my Wi-Fi's not plugged in. Right, so I've got no RGB here, so this definitely does need to be plugged in. I'm gonna have to see if I can orientate it a different way. It's just that the classic metal clips here didn't want to go over the wires when it was the other way around. So I can't believe it. I absolutely can't believe it. I had multiple rows of bent in bash pins from dropping this on the kitchen floor, and it is working. Now, okay, I don't know if it's stable, I don't know if it's going to keep working, but it's seated and it turns on. Whew, what a bloody ordeal this has been. I will tidy up and probably finish this off tomorrow. I am tired. Right, so I did manage to get that power for the LED fan plugged in just under the graphics card. I routed it around, just managed to push it in down right at the bottom there. It's just on yellow at the moment, it's not changing. I've never had an ARGB fan. I don't know if that's a motherboard thing or whether that's a specific program that I need or whether that needs to go into the actual physical like controller for any of this stuff. I don't know. But either way, that's working. I mean, for the first 5 minutes that this has been running, I've hit a maximum of what's that, 37 degrees, so it doesn't look like anything's suddenly gone bang, got hot. So I'll let that bed in over the course of, you know, the next couple of hours that I'm using this PC. So that's fine. I'm so tired after all that, trying to bend pins back and trying to, my eyes, I was going so badly cross-eyed from focusing on these hundreds of pins, just trying to see what's straight and what's not, even getting the magnifying glasses out, standing in the light, twisting it, turning it, see if it sits in, see what sits in, where it sits in, if it sits in. I was knackered. I was so tired that I went to put that tower on and I forgot to take the little plastic label off. So then I had to take it off, which then took all of the new thermal paste with it. Now, thankfully, I used the whatever was included within the tower, which happened to be just enough for a single application. And thankfully, recently, when I was thinking of doing this anyway, when I repasted the graphics card, I bought a whatever, MX4, whatever it is, Arctic stuff. Kind of like the go-to normal stuff of yesteryear, probably. So I had a tube of that, so I put that in fine. Hopefully it's all nice and cool. Oh my God. I've forgotten where I even got to with the video before, going, you know what, I'm gonna try and install these things. It's PC working good now. I've upgraded the tower from like the whatever standard AMD LED thing it had. We now know that the NVMe slot below the graphics card does work, so in future maybe I can get a bigger NVMe drive so that I can do away with the old school SATA SSDs. But at the end of the day, they're not hidden, unfortunately, because there's no like blanking plate down. A lot of cases would have like a little blanked area, so you don't see all the extra cables if you don't have a modular power supply, which I obviously don't. Going to that extent seems a bit silly. If I just got like a new case, which maybe be a bit better or a bit newer, then it might have an area where I can hide this stuff away. I don't need to worry about getting a fancy power supply. I'm paying a lot more for a modular power supply, so you only have to plug in the wires that you need, as opposed to just saying here's all your wires, hide them, the ones that you don't need, do away with the extra cables for the SSDs, and then it just makes the build so much neater. Yeah, apologies if I've gone all over the place in this, but you kind of came with me on this kind of Friday evening where I've gone in to install things, and we've gone from woohoo, I've updated a BIOS, which used to be much harder back in the day, but I think it's pretty safe these days. So updated the BIOS, didn't fix that other NVMe slot. I did insert the image to see what the hell happens with some Blanco drive report or something. Didn't fix that, but the other NVMe slot under the graphics card does work. So woohoo, that's good, that's good. We can get a big drive in there at some point and do away with this other stuff and all these cables. Excellent. And then on to, well, whilst I'm here, I've got this new cooler today. Let's slap that in. I've done this, 7, 10 times by now. Not on a recent Ryzen AMD machine, I haven't, no. I haven't done this for years. So we went through all sorts of pain there. That's a lot of lows. And now we're back on the high of, oh my God, it worked. Now I'm knackered, I need to go to bed. So yeah, trials and tribulations of building a PC yourself. You shouldn't be afraid of it. There aren't really that many parts. It is very easy these days now that there are a lot less cables. There's so many more things that are integrated on the motherboard. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Couldn't say what the next one's going to be, but thank you for watching anyway. Cheers.